LaNorris Sellers in South Carolina. Hear me out. They good enough to be in the playoffs, but should they make it? No. But I wouldn't mind if they did make it over a team like Tennessee. Like if they do get a three-loss SEC team in there, I'd much rather see a three-loss South Carolina team in the college football playoffs than Tennessee. Let me tell you why. I think LaNorris Sellers is trending up. Him, Nick Harbor, Rocket Sanders. It's already a good college football 25 team. So if you play college football 25, you already knew how South Carolina could be. They got one of the better defensive lines. They got one of the better young quarterbacks. I think LaNorris Sellers, when it's all said and done, when his career is done in South Carolina, I think he's gonna be a first round pick. I think he's that good. He's that dynamic in fourth quarters. He's that dynamic as an athlete, and he's a pretty good passer. He kind of reminds me of like an Anthony Richardson type, but he's a better passer. He's in that type of mode. He got a big frame and he can run, but then he also is a solid passer and he's kind of clutch. I love Rocket Sanders, the running back, South Carolina. He runs hard. That last touchdown against Missouri was all wheel, and I think that was a good win against Missouri. I think they're trending upwards. Stewart, I love Stewart. They young defensive linemen. I love their defensive line. Period. Like they get to the quarterback, they get pressures. I just think it's really just an exciting team to watch. South Carolina has pretty much been every week like, oh, they got South Carolina. This gonna be a test. They're the test team. I get LaNorris Sellers wasn't that good against Ole Miss. He wasn't that great against Ole Miss. But the LSU game, he got knocked out the LSU game. He played damn good against Alabama in that 2-point loss. They got Clemson coming up. I just think LaNorris Sellers in South Carolina is trending upwards. And if it was a three-loss team from the SEC get in the college football playoffs, I'd rather it be them than Tennessee or a three-loss Georgia team or something like that. At least give us some excitement, even though I don't think a three-loss team should make the college football playoffs. But like I said, LaNorris Sellers, what is his ceiling? What do y'all think LaNorris Sellers' ceiling is in terms of being an NFL prospect? I think if he keep trending in the right direction, I think he's a red shirt sophomore freshman. So I think he could play 2 more years. I think he has to play 2 more years. Am I not, if I'm not mistaken, in college? So hey, the sky's the limit, bro. 6'3", 240. Bruh. Lenore Sellers got action as a first round quarterback prospect. And I really like the South Carolina team. South Carolina, like I said, they got Clemson coming up. That's the biggest game because they got Wofford, but I'm looking over Wofford. They got Clemson on the 30th. So I think that's a very big game. If they could win that game, and maybe like let's say Georgia loses again, Ole Miss loses again, I wouldn't mind seeing South Carolina in the playoff. I really wouldn't, even though I don't think it should happen. I wouldn't mind it, and I just think the South Carolina team is a team to watch. I think that Clemson game is going to be very telling to really see what South Carolina is and where they should go. But I love LaNorris Sellers. Like I said, Nick Harbor has been trending upwards too. Say, man, this is just a fun team to watch. And can we just put the fun teams in? Like if Indiana loses, do y'all think if they lose to, I think they got Ohio State coming up next week. If Indiana loses to Ohio State and they one loss, BYU just lost, Miami should be kicked out the playoff. I think South Carolina, SMU, those teams got action within the playoffs, man. I think those just are competitive teams. I think they're more competitive than, come on, man. Like, no offense to Indiana, man, but I don't know. I don't know. Indiana, they damn near had like an ACC level schedule. They haven't played any ranked teams. Them playing against Ohio State is going to be the first ranked team they played all season. I'm not the biggest fan of Indiana. If they could pull it off against Ohio State, maybe. But do y'all really think Indiana is better than South Carolina? I know it gets to now the resume and win-loss record, and it needs to matter. But sometimes the eye test, man, South Carolina, from a talent standpoint, to me, is one of the best 15 teams in college football. And if they can beat Clemson, and if, like a couple teams lose, some things go their way, I wouldn't mind seeing South Carolina in the college football playoffs. I want to see more LaNorris Sellers. I want to see more Rocket Sanders. I want to see more Nick Harper. I want to see more Jalen Stewart. I just want to see these things. I want to see them. I don't know about y'all. Let me know what y'all feeling about LaNorris Sellers in South Carolina. I feel like they trending upwards, and we need to start looking at that when it comes to the college football playoff, especially if certain teams slide. Like I think if Indiana lose, if a team like Notre Dame lose, Miami, I think they should already be out. BYU just lost. Now we got to really start trying to narrow down who are the 12 best teams. Forget the conference stuff. I get people got the SEC hate. Kirby Smart came out and said some dumb stuff talking about it. They not seeing who we playing on the field. Hey, if there's a couple losses in the SEC between the top teams, because I think if the SEC get in 4 teams, would y'all be mad? Like, I'm just wondering because Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and then I think either Ole Miss or South Carolina. I think Tennessee's out. I don't want Tennessee. I don't want to see Tennessee. Nico can't pass, bro. He just can't throw. He can't throw. That team, Tennessee just not that good, man. Carson Beck was carving them up. But I just wouldn't mind seeing LaNorris Sellers in South Carolina. If a lot of things happen, I wouldn't mind seeing them in the college football playoffs. I think LaNorris Sellers is a future first-round draft pick. I think South Carolina's on the uptrend. I think they are a good overall and exciting team, and I just wouldn't mind seeing it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. How do y'all feel about LaNorris Sellers in South Carolina? Are they good enough to be in the playoffs? Should they make it to the playoffs? Should the SEC get 4 teams into the playoff? What are some underrated teams that should be considered for the playoff? What team do y'all think are overrated and shouldn't be in the playoff race? I think Indiana is overrated. I think Miami is overrated. I think Boise State is overrated. But if Boise State run the table and they win their conference, I'm fine with it, I guess. I get it, and I think they leaning too much on Boise State losing to an Oregon team in the early part of the season in a close game when we thought Oregon's offensive line was going to hold them back from being an actual contender. I don't know. I just think Big Ten wins and losses are too highly touted. I'm not a believer in Indiana. I definitely think South Carolina is as good as Indiana. I think they're as good as Miami. I think South Carolina is as good as Notre Dame. But then you have to take into account resume, and I get all that. But I wouldn't mind seeing South Carolina in the college football playoffs. I wouldn't mind the SEC getting 4 teams in, especially like with BYU losing, if Indiana possibly loses, if Notre Dame possibly loses another game. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. But y'all let me know what y'all think about South Carolina, what y'all think about LaNorris Sellers, what y'all think about the college football playoffs and how they should delegate which teams get in, resume versus record, and things of that nature. Let me know.
Found some shit I love to do, so I can live comfortable. Searching for a peace of mind, need that when it's time to rhyme. Perfect in every line, any chance I get, and I know it takes time, but I would never quit.